Hey guys, welcome to SpeakAudibly.com. My name is Mike B. And I'm here with my son. We're playing at the dog park here. It's amazing. Hey guys, welcome to 100% Me. My name is Mike Wilson and I am your show's host. Today, we're going to talk about something very, very important. But before we do that, I wanted to tell you guys about the 100% Me book series. Currently, there are 4 books out of this 10-book series that are published. I'll put a link in the show notes. We have 100% Me Mentally, 100% Me Physically, 100% Me The Hustler, and 100% Me Mom. All 4 books are available. If you want to start that life perspective of renewing who you are, renewing your mind, becoming 100% who you are meant to become, I want to make sure you guys get a chance to check that out. Like I said, my name is Mike Wilson, and today we're going to talk about a lens, all right? We're going to go through this series, about 4 or 5 videos that I'll do, and it's all about lenses, how we see things, right? Because whenever we have glasses on like I do, the lenses aren't exactly the same, right? Each of my eyes are a little bit different. One sees slightly better than the other, and so these lenses are actually, they're 2 different prescriptions. But that helps me to see 2020, or at least as close to 2020 as they possibly could help me to be, right? And so today we're going to start with lens number 1. And before I dive into that lens, I want to talk about 2 words that you will hear me kind of say throughout this time, right? The first word being humility. Humility. Humility is a modest or low view of one's own importance. A modest or low view of one's own importance. The second word is going to be meekness, right? Which is essentially submissiveness, to be able to submit, right? And the reason I want to start with those 2 words is because in the world that I've grown up in, right, in the world that a lot of us have grown up in, especially as men, when we hear humility and we hear meekness, we think weakness, right? We think this is something that is only meant for women. Which, shout out to the women, because it seems like y'all have this figured out just a little bit better than we do, so kudos to y'all. But as men, we're almost told that those 2 things are the opposite of strength, right? And so I want to talk through those right now, because I'm going to tell you 2 stories that I've personally lived through, that I've walked through. And one story, I didn't use humility or meekness, and the other, I tried to my very best, right? So story number 1 takes place back in early middle school. It was like 6th grade. We were at this amazing school. You know, I loved the teachers. I had great friends there. A lot of my family attended. And one day I was in music class, and there was a kid in our class who was quite a bit bigger than everyone else, probably like a foot, like a whole like head and shoulders taller than everyone else in the 6th grade. And he began to just go in on one of my friends, right? He was talking about his mom, his mom had some struggles, right? And so it wasn't like he was joking. He was telling the truth in front of everyone and making a mockery of my friend. And so my friend's sitting there taking the meek way out of things, right? He was showing true meekness, and I'm like, dude, we can't let this fly, bro. Like, I got your back. Let's go ahead and handle this situation, right? And because I stood up, I ended up getting held after class. You know, and the other kid, you know, when the teacher said, man, what is going on with you guys? I said, I just don't appreciate that he's putting my friend's business about his family and his mom out there like that. That's not right. And when he asked the other kid, he looked at me and he said, you know what? I just want to knock him out. And at that point, I made up in my mind, okay, well, Mr. Teacher, we're good. Let's go ahead and move on. Because after school, me and him are going to have a different sort of conversation. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what ensued, right? So me and one of my cousins and one of my friends, we kind of walk into the gym where this dude was shooting some basketball, right? And I still had it in my mind and in my heart that, you know what, I'm going to try to talk this dude down, make sure he's not getting Brody in front of everybody or in front of the teacher, you know, let me go ahead and calm him down. And when I went to have this conversation with this young man, this fellow 6th grader, right, who was quite a bit bigger than me, he got so frustrated, almost has to say, whoa, you really did want some, huh? And this is like, my dude, what's up, you know? And so I know some of you guys are like, did he just have a whole conversation and say like 3 words and I don't understand? We'll come back to that, all right? But I'm with one of my friends who is instigating the whole thing. My friend pushes me into this bigger kid, right? the kid literally shoves me, which felt like across the gym. I had a backpack on, and it's like, okay. Backpack came off, and I charged dude, right? He picks me up by my shirt. Just picks me up. And that's when the 1-2 combos were unleashed, right? And I popped this cat probably 11, 12 times. My cousin is being held back by one of her friends, but then she realizes, oh, Mike is handling this situation. Even though that kid is much bigger than him, yeah, okay, Mike has this under control. And I'm just going to town doing what I do, right? And afterwards, the kid runs down the hall, and I'm amped up. And so I kind of walk after him, get one of my cousins. They're like, man, let's go get him. And anyways, as great as that story sounds, as it's like, man, yes, the underdog, woo, woo, woo. This sounds awesome. That wasn't taking the meek way out. And although me and that kid eventually actually became great friends because he was so big, anyone that wanted to mess with me, he was like, yo, listen, you want to mess with me before you mess with Mike, because Mike's a little crazy and he will throw them hands. Like, no joke, right? And so it ended up being fine at the end of the day, but that could have went way different. Way different. Number one, I shouldn't have been hanging around the instigators, right? Because dude pushed me in, like my friend pushes me into this bigger dude, knowing that a physical altercation was about to happen just simply from him pushing me. So that's not cool. Stay away from people who put you in those positions. We've all found those vultures. If you ever read my book, 100% Me Mentally, you know what I'm talking about when you're around those vultures, right? And the second story, I took a slightly different approach, right? And although the first story was back in 6th grade, of course, when I was a child, I thought like a child, but now that I'm a man, I do as men do. And so I'm in the pool at the community pool here with my kids. At that point, I only had 2 sons. For those of you guys who follow me know I now have 3 as of 3 weeks ago. But my oldest son was in the pool, and we had met this guy the day before, right, that's in the pool. And so it's not to say that I know him, because I really don't know him. I met him in the pool the day before. And yeah, it was a real crazy situation. Either way, my son wanted this guy to throw him. So I threw him, then the guy threw him. Then it was like, okay, that's it. Be done, sir. Go ahead and enjoy your whatever's in your cup. And over there, I'll continue to have family time with my family. Thank you. So moments pass. A whole group of kids and families come running in. I'm like, man, this is live down here. Excuse me. This is live down here. My kid is just loving it. Has a huge smile on his face like, hey, everybody's here. Let's go. Let's play. And as I scan the pool to look at these families, my eyes go across something real strange, real weird, right? And that strange thing is my kid and this guy. My son is in front of him and he's really close to my kid. And so anytime you're in a pool in this situation and there's a grown person that close to your kid, it's never a good thing. So inside of me, protective mode, protective dad kicks in immediately. I don't know what's happening. I don't care what's happening at this point. Why are you so close to my kid? And so as I approach this dude, I'm like, yo. And I realize he's gritting his teeth and he's talking through his teeth at my son, like right in my son's ear. Like he's talking like this into my kid's ear. And I'm sitting here like, oh no. And as I look through the water, because I go to grab my kid, I realize he has my son's hand kind of turned like this. And so I grab my kid and I go to pull him like, brother, let my kid go. And I realize dude's still holding on. So I have to grab him, right? So I snatch him up. Yo, listen, this ain't how we do things. And in that moment, all I can say is my mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yeah. I wanted to hit this dude, right? Like my mind is like, Mike, don't do it. Like, listen, you got more to live for, bro. Like, don't lose on this one situation. But I'm looking at, I have the guy with one hand, right? And my fist is balled right underneath, like right under the surface of the water. And I want to Barry Bonds it, right? I want to knock it out of the park, man. And I just couldn't get my hand out of the water. Almost as if the water was holding my hand down. And it may have been in that moment, right? But as I begin to calm down and I have my son's kind of floating here, I grab him and I just turn around. I turn my back to the guy and kind of walking away. Try to put some distance between us, right? And I'm asking my kid, you good? He's oblivious to what was happening because he was so excited to see these kids. He was simply just trying to make his way over to the kids. And this guy was just holding him back like that. And so he wasn't harmed. And so that was the first thing that kind of helped disarm me. And then the guy comes back to me and he says, "You don't discipline your kid." What'd he say? Hey, what'd he say? I mean, I'm like, yo, really? You want to do this right now? Like, I'm surpassed the 10. I'm not on 10 no more, y'all. I mean, I'm like at a 12 or 13, and I'm trying to bring myself down because like a bull that sees red, you start feeling your pulse in your face, right? Like everything's like, right? You feel your pulse in your face. You can't hear much in your ears. Your heart's beating. And I know that once this adrenaline really kicks in, sir, you're done. Just like my boy back in 6th grade, it's like riding a bike. I'm telling you. It could be years you haven't hopped on that bike, right? You're like, man, I haven't rode 2 wheels in a minute. Get on that bike and you just get the pedal and you find your balance and that muscle memory kicks in. Believe me, ask any boxer. I don't care how old they are now. You can see them in their prime, whatever. I've seen those YouTube videos where those ex-boxers beat the mess out of certain individuals who roll up on them, right? It's muscle memory. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Jab, 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 right hook. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Gary Vee for that one. But this is what we're in right now. And this guy's telling me while I'm trying to calm the situation down that I don't discipline my kid. And so all I could think to myself, and when he's saying that, I could smell the alcohol on his breath. I could just smell it. It's so strong. And it's like, wow, like you're gone, bro. So as I hand my wife my son, babe, take him, I sit on the edge of the pool. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, how can I slide this dude without these families seeing me? Because quite honestly, with the narrative and the story that we're hearing today, I didn't want to be the only brother in the pool that started, throwing haymakers, right? Like, I didn't want to be that guy. So I know what would have happened, unfortunately, and we'll talk about that on another episode, but I knew what would have happened with these families and them not seeing everything that I saw, because perspective is key in this whole thing. And so thinking back to 6th grade in that moment, even though it wasn't the last time I had gotten in an altercation, that's just one of the ones that stuck out to me because the dude was so much bigger than me, right? But I thought to myself, I was lucky not to get in a whole lot of trouble for that. But what it did was it made me out to look like a bully. Even though I was defending my friend from a bully, it now looks like I'm bullying the bully. And so now I'm looking at this guy. You're drunk in a pool with a lot of kids and families. It won't help anything for me to knock you clean out. It may make me feel a little better, right? Not gonna lie. I mean, I'm human. But it wouldn't have helped my situation. It wouldn't have helped my story. And so I chose at that moment to go ahead and get completely out of the pool, go ahead and take my family, we were going to go eat some Chipotle, shout out to Chipotle, and keep on moving with our evening. My son wasn't harmed, and so I decided, the next day I'm going to go ahead and talk to the office, let them know what happened, let them know what would happen if that were to happen again, because I can't promise you I can do that twice, but the simple fact is I took the humility route. Right? Where I took my own importance, my own self-importance, and I brought it lower than this individual's. Right? And of course, the meekness. I mean, the Bible tells us that the meek will inherit the earth, right? And I always try to figure out, what does that even mean? Right? Because I, like so many other people, so many other men especially, see meekness as weakness. As one of my good friends pointed out that, meekness is not weakness, but for so long, that's exactly what it was in my mind. And that's exactly what it is in a lot of the men's mind that I kind of roll with. And it's like, what would happen if we were to take more of a meek approach to things? Understanding that when we submit, what we're truly doing is we're taking a different perspective. We're taking a step back, and instead of being reactionary, we respond to situations. And so what I had to do was really think, what's going on in this dude's life? Right? And so I began to kind of ask around before I approached him and let him know, yo, listen, first and foremost, I need you away from my family at all times, right? Because although I walk in grace and forgiveness, if you ever even look like you're going to do that again to my kid, I promise you, I can't hold myself back from something like that twice. I cannot do it. I'm not that strong. All right? Like, plain and simple. But all that to say, when it comes to that meekness word, It's the bullies aren't going to win in the end, and they never do. I mean, think about it. Think about it in history, right? When the bullies continued to win. It just doesn't happen that way. I mean, historically, we root for the underdog at this point, right? I mean, in our day and age, we want the person who does not look like they're going to win. We put our money on it, we put our faith in it. We want them, the David and Goliath stories, right? The bullies don't always win. And God opposes the proud, right? So I'm not even going to start talking about that when it comes to humility. But imagine if in our world today, we took a more meek approach and a more humble approach to things. Imagine if the lens that we looked through looked a little more like love. And when I say love, people are like, oh, here we go with that love stuff, man, that hippie type stuff. Love is not going to save everything. All you need is love. No, the Beatles weren't right on that, And I'm not saying the lovey-dovey stuff that, the soft love. Because if you understand what love truly is and what love truly looks like, love disciplines. Right? But for whatever reason, we call that part of love tough love. But we've labeled it tough love. When really it's like, no, that's just love. Because I love my kids, I will discipline them. Because I care about their futures. You understand? I care about my boys' future, so of course I'm going to discipline them. If I got to give them pow-pows, I got to give them pow-pows, man. It is what it is. But I digress. Because that meekness and that humility comes when you wear a lens of love, when you see things through a lens of love. And even though that dude put his hands on my kid, and it hurt me for about a week, I mean, I can't lie to you. I had to go to another individual who happened to be in the pool at that time and start asking him questions. What's this dude's story? Because he still may get dropped because the families ain't going to be around all the time, right? Like, come on. But when I began to hear that this guy, when he was growing up, had a strained relationship with his parents and his dad, right? His dad owned multiple car dealerships here in Fort Worth. So they were born and raised Fort Worth. And his dad wasn't around a whole lot because he was hustling. He was grinding. This dude got a little older, stole money from the family business. So his parents wrote him off. Like, dude, you're done. You're cut off. Only thing you can do at this point is go in the military or something because we're not paying for nothing else. And so that's exactly what he did. He went to the military and we thanked him for his service before he put his hands on my kid. But he then comes back from the military, from doing his service, and he ends up getting drunk and like drag racing down one of the major streets here in Fort Worth, right? And you begin to hear this whole alcohol consumption thing being a repeated issue in his life, right? And so now here I am thinking to myself, what if I would have dropped this dude, right? Sure, it probably would make me feel a little better maybe, but what would that have done to him? Right? It would have been this all too familiar embarrassment, right? This thing of like, I overdid it again. I failed. And look what I did to this dude's kid. Right? And I still see him at the community pool and, we ain't really on speaking terms, but I forgive him. In my heart, I forgave the guy. So it's just like, hey, like I said, just keep your distance and we're good. But what if? What if the cops would have been called? Even if I was justified in my own mind and in my own heart, does justification give me the right to do something? Because I'm justified in it, does it make it right? That's the deeper conversation. And if I may talk to the men just a little bit here, because as we walk through in our nation this COVID-19 stuff, we're all quarantined and we're probably about to go back into another even stronger, deeper quarantine. And even more so, this whole conversation on race, right? I know for a fact that there are men who fear, A, the opinions of others, and B, they fear their own mirrors. And you say, Mike, how in the world does someone fear their own mirror? I say that because, like Michael Jackson said, right, it starts with the man in the mirror. It starts there. And so many of us, we're so scared of that mirror because of what we see. All right. And unless we take that humble and that meek approach, even in our own lives, I mean, we're our biggest critics. We hold our own past against us. And I'm not even just talking about like cats that are just walking the streets. I'm talking individuals who are pastors, who are community leaders. And although there are great things happening, imagine how much greater they would be if we could look in that mirror and say, you know what, you can do better. You need to do better. Now let's put a plan in place and walk out that plan of becoming better. Instead of being so scared of our past and shying away from our future and what it could be because we don't want to slip up again or we don't want to make the same mistakes. So my challenge to you guys as we create these new habits, because it's only through making these new habits that we're able to move forward, that we're able to regain who we are, not only who we are, but who we are meant to become. So I challenge you this week to begin to look through the lens of love. Again, not that old soft, mushy love either. I'm talking about the love that says, you know what? I love you too much to let you mess up. I love you too much to let you continue to go down this path. I love you too much. I love you too much. I love you too much. Although your actions may be justified, are your actions right? Are they right? Because it's easy to point the finger at someone else and say, who let this person be judge and jury? But then when we get in our own feelings and in our own hurt, outside of our heart and in our own hurt, right, we then become judge and jury ourselves. So as we condemn someone else for doing the action, here we are turning around and doing it. If we remember humility, taking a low view of one's own importance, right? Meekness, being submissive. Submit. It's okay to submit. It's not weakness. It's actually strength to be able to submit because that's a choice. That's a response, not a reaction, right? Look in that mirror. If you need help, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. Believe me, because I don't offend easily. I'm not one who I used to hurt. I used to be very emotional, but I have to change that, right? Not that emotions are bad, because being aware of my emotions is one thing, but living and being guided by them, a completely different thing. And I know for a fact there are some people watching this right now. You're like, man, I'm guided by my emotions, Mike, and I do need help with that. I'm here for you. Reach out to me, DM me, comment on this video below, because you know what? I see things through a lens of love, and I love you. So guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Speak Audibly's 100% Me podcast. Again, I'm your host, Mike Wilson, and remember, man, at Speak Audibly, you have a voice. Let it be heard. Down through his leg, up over his arm a couple times, up around the back of his neck, and then down through this arm back to the placenta. So he was hog